Welcome to this week's Power Chat, sponsored by Blue Mark Energy. I'm publisher Tim Fitzgerald of GoPowerCat.com, and we're here in the WTC Gig Powered Studios in downtown Manhattan. This week, we've asked Nick Walsh to sit down with us and talk about his time as a small-town sports hero in Linden, Kansas, and eventually a punter at Kansas State. It all led up to a decision to move to Nashville to become a singer-songwriter. We start off in part one, discussing his football career and life in Manhattan. Here's the Power Chat. Welcome to another edition of the Power Chat, sponsored by Blue Mark Energy, here in the GPC Gig Powered Studios. Tim Fitzgerald and my guy Nick Walsh, punter extraordinaire, now singer-songwriter. We're going to talk about all that on this Power Chat. First of all, we'll get to Nashville probably in the second half, but how is Nashville?
It's good, man.
That town's crazy now.
It's real crazy. You get in a lot of trouble, and bank account can start hurting pretty quick if you don't be careful, but it's good. It's a cool vibe in that city. There's a lot of people chasing dreams and want to be songwriters and singers, so it's cool to be surrounded by people like that are just trying to struggle through it with you, and it's good energy down there. So.
Well, let's start off with Linden, Kansas. What was it like growing up in a town of 1,000 people, about 30 minutes south of Topeka?
Yeah, about 30 minutes south. Man, I don't know if I'm one of the few, but everybody's always wanting to get out. I'm the guy that got out, that wants to come back. You know, I wish Nashville was in Linden on a smaller scale, but it was great, man. I had a lot of fun just because I like being outdoors and hunting, and luckily had a really good friend group from 2 years under me to 2 years above me.
That's
all
cool.
of us guys are super close. We are still. They're all still my best friends. We took sports super seriously, and just couldn't get us out of the weight room, couldn't get us, out of the deer blinds. So it was a lot of stuff we could do. But yeah, I loved it, man. It was, I'm thankful to be raised in that town, and one of my biggest passions is just going home and being around there, being around the community, and it's a pretty special place.
What'd your dad do?
He's an attorney.
He is an attorney. So you didn't grow up on a farm or anything?
Yeah, we grew up out in the country. My grandpa has a ranch with horses just right up about a mile up the country road, and but yeah, so him and my mom have a small little firm in town, and so they're just doing some kind of local stuff. So.
Now, I understand that it is known as the gateway to the lakes. Have you ever heard that about your hometown?
Yeah, for sure. Melbourne and Pomona Lake.
What is the better of the two lakes?
I always wind up, if I'm going out to the lake, Melbourne. I don't know why. I think the fishing's a little better. I want to say the water might be a little clearer. And there's probably, if anybody watches this that's caters to Pomona might get mad at me, but I don't know.
Yeah,
we're closer to Melbourne, so maybe we'll
just like gangs? Like you mean middle of town, Melbourne, Pomona, and whatever, guys.
Yeah, I'm just closer to Melbourne Lake. That's probably why.
That's pretty cool, though, man. Down there. For a guy that likes the outdoors, to have a lake right there.
Yeah, and we used to have a boat out on the lake, but just tough to keep up with it.
Did you have a boat when you were in high school, though?
No, I was even younger than that.
Oh,
I would say, so.
Well, that was kind of selfish of your parents to do that.
Yeah, I know.
That'd have been fun in high school to have a boat.
We're going to sell it right when you're old enough to have fun.
So you shared with me that you grew up a fan of a certain other school that is also close to Topeka, not Emporia State.
Yeah.
How was that change when you started getting recruited or decided to walk on to K-State?
Yeah, it's one of those things, like, I probably sent KU more emails saying I wanted to play for them than I did K-State, but I never heard back from KU, and so I did hear back a little bit from K-State, and at the end of the day, that's where I wound up. But KU just never gave me that chance, and if they did, I probably would have ran with it and went there, which thankfully they didn't, because I'm glad I wound up here. And
although that's a good job for a punter. You get a lot of opportunity when you play for that kind of program.
Yeah, that's true. I would have had to punt a lot there.
I mean, there's a reason Sean Snyder's up on the Ring of Fame. He got a lot of opportunity in his career at Kansas State.
It couldn't have happened better. Exactly for that reason too. Sean helped me a lot. So, but it was KU basketball. I never really got too crazy into KU football, but I just liked the school because of basketball. And but yeah, never worked out, and not a KU fan anymore.
That's awesome. That's so was it Sean the big reason why you picked Kansas State?
Yeah,
an accomplished punter.
Taylor was great.
Right,
recruiting me, and was there for me when I had all the silly questions, as a recruit. And then Sean just took me under his wing and really helped me out, and saw something in me that maybe some others didn't, and thankfully he did, because ended up getting able to play, and met a lot of friends, and just had a really good experience. So
when did you know that you had transformed from, you were a really good high school punter, but that's a different gig. High school, there's a lot of technique you probably learn at the college level.
For sure, yeah.
When did you know, I got this, man, this is good?
Yeah, I'd say it was probably after my senior year of high school, where I started to be able to just focus on punting, whereas in high school games, I'd carry the ball 25 times a game. I'd play middle linebacker. I'd kick off, and I'd punt. So by the time I would punt, I'd be worn out, and I'd have my ankles spatted up, and so it's like not putting myself in a good position to be a good punter when, you're wearing yourself out that much. And
small town football, man, you get to do it all.
Yeah, exactly. But
you were a running back, weren't you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Did you dig that? Was that awesome?
Yeah, dude, that was my favorite position.
And I remember you as a punter. I always loved it when coverage would break down and Nick Walsh got to hit someone, because you
there's a couple.
Lay licks on people. How fun was that?
It was fun, man.
Because you don't look like a guy that's going to hurt someone. When they come up the sideline, it's like, I'm going to push him out of bounds. You would lower the boom.
It was fun when I was wearing my mouthpiece, when I wasn't like that Iowa State hit. I wasn't wearing a mouthpiece, and I got rattled up pretty good there.
That's funny.
But
that's funny. What were some of the highlights of your playing career at K-State?
Every time we beat KU.
That's funny.
For sure. Man, the bowl games, honestly. I was fortunate enough to go to a bowl game every year, and it was just so cool getting my family together, and they'd travel to the bowl games, and just being able to experience that with my family, and my family being able to interact with other teammates, parents, and families, and just, Memphis, down in Texas, just all over. It was just a great experience, man. And I felt like a lot of the relationships and bonds that I have from the team and from, families of the teammates kind of really came together on those bowl trips, because we were just all surrounded by each other, and it was just a great experience. So I'd say those bowl games for sure, man.
Who are your guys on the team that you're still close with? You're going to leave someone out and they'll be pissed.
Yeah, no, I'm going to have to ramble on because I don't want to leave anybody out. But I'll start off like my roommates. Corbin Couchman's the guy I lived with from day one all the way to the end. And Austin Cazzarellos and Joe Hubner. But then you get outside of that, and it's all over the place. McCrane, I hunted with Matt a lot, and Mitch Lockbeeler, and now I'm better friends than Jesse. I lived with Ertz for like my last year there, and now we're great friends. And Dayton Valentine, Reed Niver, we used to hunt all the time.
There were a lot of good country boys in that group.
Man, there's just too many to name off. I don't want to leave anybody out, but they're all over the place. Had a lot of great friends.
Well, my highlight of your career is that TCU game in 2017 when you literally put a ball out. There's no way to do it better. I mean, that came off your foot and kind of just took that right turn and went to the pylon, and you're like, oh, it's going to hit the pylon. Nope. And I think it was less than an inch off the pylon.
Yeah, man, I still don't understand how that happened.
You should have retired right then.
I know.
Walked off the field.
Take my helmet off, cleats off, just left it all on the field.
Yep.
Started walking in. But no, that was crazy, man. I was pumped up after that one.
You should have been.
I was honestly mad. I didn't make Sports Center or nothing. I was pissed off. I was like,
you should have been. It was incredible. You literally can't do the coffin corner better than that. It was amazing.
Yeah, man. That was a good feeling. But a better feeling was at OU when I think it was Danzel McDaniel. I put it on the 1 or 2 yard line, but then he picked off, ran it in for 2 yards for interception or pick six. So that's cool. Just knowing that.
So does the punter feel like you're going to kind of claim that touchdown?
Not claim it, but it feels good knowing that I had a small part, and he didn't have to run 80 yards. He only had to run 2 yards.
That was a good play. That was awesome. Let's talk about Sean a little bit. The guy is a really incredible technician when it comes to punting.
Yeah.
I mean, you couldn't probably find a better coach in the United States to learn that specific position from.
100%.
What did all he teach you?
Man, as far as technique goes, that's something he'd harp on me every day about. But where he helped me the most, I'd have to say, is just like the mental side of things. And we were able to have, that friendship to where we could just talk about, if I had a real bad punt, we could just talk about it later in my career. Beginning of my career, he'd rip my ass after every bad punt, but we got to the point where we could talk about it, and he could, just calm me down from a mental perspective, go in the next punt clear-minded. But I'd say, man, the technique was big, obviously, but once we got that hashed out, it was just more like he was just really good, just keeping me level-headed and just focus on one punt at a time, and just was really good with the mental side of things. So.
Okay, real quick, talk about the different types of punts you have to learn. I mean, it's not just punting the ball anymore. Right?
No, yeah.
You're trying to back it up. There's so much that goes into it. It's crazy.
Yeah, you got the, you can shoot the missiles out there, dropping the ball a little bit lower, angling the punts, sideline to sideline.
Mm-hmm.
That's something, if you're a punter nowadays, you got to be able to angle to the sideline. You don't want to kick to the returner necessarily. But as far as those ones that spin backwards, it's just dropping the ball straight up and down, and you're usually when you're closer to the end zone on like a pooch punt, and just hoping that ball just backs up and doesn't.
You got really good at that, didn't you?
So that was my favorite punt to hit because very seldom does it come out all wacky like dropping a regular punt would. The wind somehow doesn't affect it as much. You can just literally drop it on your foot. It's not a punt that goes 50 or 60 yards, but it's a solid 38 to 42 yard punt every time, and usually does its job when it needs to back up.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. So you get done playing, and you're just kind of hanging around at that point. What you flirted with the NFL, but what was your decision making there when you decided, heck with this, I'm done playing football?
So I went out to California, trained for a little bit, and in my mind, I was, and I had already picked up a guitar at this point and started already trying to fiddle around with that, but no part of me thought I'd be moving to Nashville and doing all that. So I was hell-bent on trying to make it to the NFL, and I had some good feedback from John Carney, the guy out in California, and Sean, that some teams were interested, and so I felt like I had a chance to make a mini camp at the least. And we did pro day, and pro day went pretty good. I punted all right, and we did like some vertical tests and that, and we had one thing left to do, and it was a 40-yard dash, and I wanted to show these scouts that I was athletic, and that if they want to run a fake punt, if they want me to cover. So I decided to run the 40 and tweak my hamstring pretty good.
Good job.
And so couldn't even hardly walk off the field. So that was in front of them, and in their mind, they're probably thinking this guy's not gonna be able to punt at our mini camp. Kind of maybe penciling me out, I felt like, a little bit. not a single scout came over and asked me how I was doing. So I was like, man, hell with you guys. So I was in Manhattan just trying to rehab that, and my birthday happened to be coming up along with the NFL draft that same weekend. So I was heading back to watch the draft and to celebrate my birthday. And about halfway home, my mom calls, crying, and she says, our house is on fire.
I was getting to that.
And I was like, what? And so sure enough, I get like 20 miles away from our place, and I see a cloud of smoke. And
that's not good when you're that far away.
Yeah, so I was like, man, that can't be good. So so that was tough, man. I get there, and everything's pretty much gone.
So what happened when the house caught fire? How did it?
We're still not sure, man. Something in the attic, I want to say. So that was just like, that was eye-opening for me, and I was just like, so I didn't really have like a set. So my parents had to move into an apartment, and part of me just kind of wanted to get out and get away, and so I just kind of made this decision in my head. So we went to my grandparents' house to watch the draft, and didn't get a call, nothing. Sure. So kind of all that just unfolded in this one weekend, and I just had to kind of talk with myself about what I was going to do with my life. And after that had happened, I was so attached to my home and everything that I had lost, and so
it was almost symbolic, wasn't it?
Yeah, man. So I just made the decision a few months later to move to Nashville. And
at that point, how long had you been playing the guitar and just kind of messing around with it?
Man, I got my first guitar when I was like 12 or 13. Just playing some AC/DC covers, and Jimi Hendrix covers and stuff like that, but never tapped into songwriting until like my last year of playing football at K-State, or singing. I hated singing in front of people, hated talking in front of people, but
that's incredible.
So that took a while to get adjusted to, and it's still an ongoing process, but so that's kind of how that unraveled, and that's kind of how I wound up in Nashville. And it was just therapeutic for me to write about it rather than worry about it. But
before I move on to Nashville, I want to back up and catch a topic, because you were really, really involved with Big Brothers, and you were really close to young man Tate Reed. Wrote an amazing song about Tate's struggle with cancer. Mm-hmm. Well, how did you get into Big Brothers, Big Sisters?
So as far as me and Tate's relationship goes, that was set up because I saw what Ryan Mueller was doing with Caden, and so I had reached out to him. He put me in contact with a few ladies that could help me kind of find a match for myself. So it was actually kind of off the books. Wasn't through Big Brothers. I did end up getting into Big Brothers after that.
Oh, wow,
Big Sisters. But it was kind of off the books a little bit, and I reached out to his parents once I found out that Tate had just moved to Manhattan. They're big K-State fans. He was just diagnosed 3 days earlier. And I said, hey, I'd really, if you don't mind, I'd really like to help Tate through this, and, just see if I can be some sort of positive light in his life through this, because I know it's going to be tough. He's a young kid. And I think they were skeptical at first, not sure why I wanted to do that, and but I think finally they kind of warmed up to it, and so I called Tate and asked him if he, wanted to be my friend, and he thought I was cool. I was on the team, so we'd get together and play Legos and all this, and now he's out there beating me on the golf course. So it's kind of cool,
that's awesome.
How
old is he now?
But 12.
Is that good a golfer, huh?
He's good, man. He's real good.
That's crazy. But how's he doing?
He's doing really well.
Thank God.
Yeah, he's doing super well, super healthy now, and just being a kid, So
that's the worst thing cancer with kids robs, is a chance to be a kid.
Right.
You learn so much stuff.
Yeah,
as a kid,
sure, man.
What to do, what to not do, how to get back up after you do stuff, and they have to lead such a protective life.
Yeah. It was an amazing experience, just being able to be there for him. An awful, experience for their family and for me as well. He's just started to feel like a little brother to me, and but it was amazing seeing him progress through that and beat it and be who he is today. And then their family's wonderful, helped me a lot, just being good to me, feed me supper, and you know, strong in their faith, family, and just pushed me to be stronger in my faith. And so it's a great family.
Yeah, family's about bonds, not necessarily blood.
Yeah,
and
100%.
It's really cool. How, as you travel through life, you build family around you, and you know nothing replaces the blood, but you've got certain things. That type of relationship. I mean, when you sat down to write that song about Tate, it's probably just all there. You just have to learn to get it out, don't you?
Yeah, man, that song kind of writes itself, and yeah, there's songs like that, and you know, that song could have probably been written a little bit better, but it just kind of says everything it needs to as far as me and his relationship is concerned and kind of what he did. So in my mind, I'm like, okay, that's where it needs to be. I don't need to try to rehash that out.
It's not a song, when I listen to it, it's not a song like meant for the radio. It's meant for your relationship.
Yeah, and it's just meant for you know, me playing it and just for me to feel that again. And so yeah, that's a cool song, man. He's I think he's heard it a few times and likes it and goes to YouTube and watches it. But yeah, it's, you know, he's a survivor and he's a fighter, and you know, he's a golf ball driver, and he's all sorts of everything. So
it's awesome. So when you start singing, right? I imagine it's like got a couple beers in you.
Yeah.
Or whiskey. Yep. And you're around the fire pit, maybe. Mm-hmm. And you pick up the guitar, and your boys are saying, "Man, sing us something."
Yeah.
Did you kind of have a circle, like you trusted them, like they're not going to bust on me if I'm bad?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man.
Like the first step is, I'm terrified. I've never sung in public. I can't imagine just picking up a guitar and singing.
There's definitely those people in my life, you know. I got some back home buddies, Trey Brown, Jordan Tillman, my brother Joe Walsh, my older brother Alex Walsh, sister. Those are kind of the first people I would ever try and play anything for. My parents a little bit, but you know, they would tell me they loved it, but they would also kind of critique me as well. So it was like I didn't lose all sorts of confidence. You know, they didn't tell me it was horrible, but they said, "Why don't you do this? You know, sing louder, project, act confident in your song." And that's something that goes a long way just in itself, is to just believe in what you're singing. And you know, I don't care. You know, I used to care what people think, like when I sang. It was like, now you put me in a room with 100 people that aren't listening, and I'm still gonna have a great time. You know, because I believe in the songs now, and I'm gonna sing it like it's the last time I've ever sang the songs.
Well, I saw you play last night over at the Blue Mountain Hotel, and you know, you got the bar crowd back there doing their thing, kind of being obnoxious. You got the group of us up front. But for a guy in your position, it's about the process. It's just like learning how to punt the ball, isn't it? You're not going to be an all Big 12 punter / whatever the singer version of that is. Right away, you got to get out there and do your reps.
Yeah, it's funny. You know, you're playing for a crowd, and you know, 99 of 100 people are talking and having a good time, but there's one person that might be listening to your song, and sometimes you see that, and that's really all that matters, man. And even if no one is, you know, I'm just smiling in the back of my head knowing someday I'm going to be playing a lot bigger stage than this, and y'all are going to wish you listened to me.
Yeah, well, they will say, I was there.
Yeah.
I saw him play when he was, And like the time I saw Kenny Chesney at Country Stampede at 2 p.m. I tell people about that. Nick, I don't remember the damn thing at all. I just knew I was there. I was probably drunk. But, you know, hey. Yeah. So I got a big question for you here as we get ready to wrap up the first segment here. Do you know the names Jack Colvin and Rip Hagerman?
I probably should.
They are probably the two most famous people to come out of Linden, Kansas.
Really?
Jack Colvin was an actor. He was on the original Incredible Hulk series back in the 70s. He was like a reporter guy. Rip Hagerman was a longtime baseball pitcher in the 1910s before all of us were around. I'm just going to say it.
Wow.
It won't be long before Nick Walsh is the most famous former resident of Linden, Kansas, in part because the competition isn't so bad. It's really, there's like, I looked Linden, Kansas up on Wikipedia, which is like, my research assistant.
Yeah.
And there's like 5 people that I have references to Linden, Kansas. And I thought, well, Nick Walsh doesn't have a Wikipedia page. Is that when you make it? Is you got a Wikipedia page?
That might be,
I don't know where it comes from.
I don't know. So can't anybody just get on there and slap some stuff down on Wikipedia? I don't know.
I think you got to ask for one to be set up. I don't know.
I don't know, man. It's a quiet little town, though. There's not a lot coming in or out of that place, but that's why I love it.
Good.
A lot of great people in that town, though.
Would you like the nickname Rip Walsh?
Rip Walsh?
Rip Hagerman. That's a really 1910 nickname.
Right.
That is that. I just laughed. I was like, I was going through all 5 bios trying to figure out who's the 2 most famous. That's the best I came up with. Well, that's going to do it for segment 1 of our Nick Walsh Power Chat. And after this, we're going to get him to Nashville and talk about music. That's why I really wanted him here, because I love his music. We'll be back. Welcome back to the Power Chat with Nick Walsh here in the GPC Gig Powered Studios. Thanks to our friends at Blue Mark Energy for sponsoring the Power Chat, and we'll continue our talk. We've got life in Linden, Kansas for the most part. Did your parents rebuild? What did they end up doing?
Yeah, man, they just moved back in.
Wow.
Middle of July.
That was a long process.
So, and we're still bringing stuff in, just tables here and there, just trying to fill the place up and make it feel like home.
So, football career's over, house burns down, pretty much someone sending you a message, time to move on.
Yeah, man, that's what I felt.
It's crazy.
Like.
It really was.
Yeah.
I remember talking to you back then. You're like, I'm going to try to get the NFL shot. House burns down, you're gone.
Yeah.
It's like,
see you later.
Well, let's
come
go.
back when it's done.
And that really was going to Nashville for you. Was like just diving into the deep end and not even sure if you could swim.
Yeah.
That's what it felt like to me.
Yeah.
What you were doing.
Yep.
How scary?
Man, it was real scary. I didn't know. I knew one guy in town. His name was Eric Dillon, and he happens to be a guy that I'm so close with and that I'm working with pretty regularly. But I had no idea about the industry whatsoever. And I had known I was going to move there, but I told my mom I was going to move down there without a place to stay and without a job. So I packed up my guitar, packed up my suitcase. This sounds cliche, like, what everybody says, but it's literally my truck, my guitar, my suitcase, and no bed or nothing. I just took off. And so on the way down, I'm trying to call these apartments. They're like telling me rent's $1,200. I'm like, holy shit! Like,
yeah, Nashville's not cheap.
So I get a hold of a guy about halfway down there, and his name's Eric Kreitz, and he played football at UC Davis. And I talked to him through a mutual friend, Matt Anderson, who played football at Cal, who I was training with out in Cali. And I asked him if I could sleep on his couch, or on his floor. I guess he didn't have a couch. He said, "Can I sleep on your floor for a couple nights? I'm gonna kind of go around and see what I can find, a place to live or whatever." So sure enough, a few days I'm circling around Nashville just trying to find a place to live. I'm talking to people about renting out, and nothing's clicking. I just can't find anything that's affordable for one, or that's in a good part of town. So he's like, "Man, just stay here, for a while and just throw us a couple $100 a month." And so sure enough, a couple weeks turned into a couple months, and then all of a sudden I was sleeping on his floor for 6 months before I finally was able to move in.
But it's
somewhere.
what you needed in a way.
Yeah, man.
I mean, you just need to get your feet under you. And
yeah, so that was my feel sorry for me moment. Moving to Nashville.
Are you literally sleeping on the floor? Or
yeah, man, literally sleeping on the
no air mattress or anything?
No air mattress. I probably could have went out and bought one for $100 or something, but I was just like, hell with it.
You wanted to punish yourself, didn't you?
Yeah.
well, you don't want to get comfortable.
Yeah, And I just, every day, it's like, I figured I'd be out of there the next day. And so I was like, I can do this another night and then turn into 6 months on the floor. I'm like, holy, you know.
How'd that work on the old football body?
I mean, I don't know. I think I still got back problems from that. It wasn't carpet, man. It was hardwood. But, you know, I had a guy reach out to me. His name's Zeb, and he's a guy that works through a record publishing company, and he found out I was sleeping on the floor, and so he found a couch for me and gave me a couch, and so I got to sleep on the couch a little bit before I ended up moving out and finding a lease for a few months. So that was nice. That was a treat. It was a nice transition into a bed.
Where are you living now? You got an apartment or what?
So, yeah. So
I heard you joke last night about rents coming up. So.
Yeah. So my buddy, the same guy who let me sleep on his floor, Eric, he just bought a place in North Nashville. And I've just been throwing him some money. I have my own room and everything, but I'm just helping him pay off his mortgage, essentially. But I think I might be moving out here soon. So we live in a pretty bad part of town. There's a lot of gunshots that go on every night.
Lovely.
So
there's probably a song in that.
Yeah, yeah. Gunshots during the weeknights and weekends, and it's starting to get a little bit close to where I'm sleeping. So
crap.
I'm having to keep my head below the windows.
It's not Linden, Kansas, is it?
Mm-mm. So I think Mitch Lockbeeler's moving to Nashville, and I think we're going to end up trying to get a place together here in December sometime. So.
Tell me about the grind. What all you do to keep busy? And
man, I'll come back fairly often, just doing some odd jobs around here to make some money, and then when I'm down there, delivering pizzas at Marco's Pizza. That's how I make my money, and they're really flexible with me, and you know, got to really let go of any sort of pride when it comes to that. And, you know, I got a finance degree. It's like I'm delivering pizza, to people who I feel like are always just looking down on me, but I'm just like in the back of my mind, like I know why I'm doing it. And it's kind of crazy though, going from getting a degree to delivering pizzas.
But to get a regular 9-to-5 job would handcuff what you're really there for.
Really would. It'd eliminate pretty much, writing, co-writing. All the co-writing goes on, usually at 10 a.m. in the morning to, 2 p.m., So we're writing songs during the day.
And guys go out and...
Oftentimes working at night. Yeah. We're playing shows at night.
A lot of bartending in your industry, I imagine?
Yeah, a lot of it. A lot of Uber driving, Lyft driving. A lot of pizza delivering.
Well, you got to do what you got to do, man.
Yeah, so we're making it work, man. I have no complaints, and it's definitely weird and not what I thought I would be doing to make money, but man, I'm enjoying the process. I finally got to the point where I'm at peace with the process, and I love it, because I know I'm gonna get there someday. So
you are. Songwriting. So how did you get in your first group? To go start doing that. It just seems like one of those, how do I describe this? Like, hey fellas, can I hang out sometime and write a song? It sounds like kind of like a weird entry into things.
Pretty
awkward.
Much, dude. I mean, so when I got there and I met Eric, he introduced me to a couple folk that I wrote songs and stuff, and they knew a couple friends, and then they knew a couple friends, and I'm still going out by myself some nights. I'm still trying to get. Really not as much anymore, but when I first moved there, I was going out to the bars, about every night by myself, and just hoping to God some conversation stirred up, so I could meet somebody. And sure enough, it did. And I've met a lot of cool people down there, and it was weird. It's pretty much like, hey, my name's Nick. I'm new to town. I don't know anybody. You want to go get a beer? I'll buy. That's pretty much how it was, and then they'll introduce you to some more people, and networking. It's crazy. And then now I go to the bar, and I know half the people in there.
That's crazy.
Not on a real personal level, but it's like, hey, so and so, I know you, and you just kind of get familiar with people, and everybody's kind of helping each other out, I feel like.
So you're doing a lot of the songwriting thing. Are you playing much around Nashville?
Yeah, starting to. They do what's
There's
called...
so many people trying to do it.
Yeah. You got your Broadway musicians who can also be songwriters, but they're, instead of working those jobs, the pizza jobs, bartending jobs, they're down there playing Broadway to make money, and that's their job.
And let's clarify for people who don't know, all that talent on Broadway is playing for free. They're playing for tips.
Right.
And you can make good money if you're in the
Right.
right place, but it's crazy to think how good that is for the bar owners, that all this incredible talent is playing for free.
Right, man. Everybody's trying to make a name for themselves. Yeah, you got to work that tip jar on the weekends, and but you know, I always look. That's a great way to practice stage presence and just practice cover songs, you know. And you could play a few originals down there, but I would rather just work another job and just hone in on songwriting and my own songs and meeting people, rather than just getting a rundown on Broadway and playing that. And that might be the wrong way to look at it, and I respect what all the musicians do on Broadway. I just don't think it's for me. I know I can't play a 4-hour set, you know, and that's what you got to play down there. And majority of it's cover songs.
Well, you mentioned this last night. You're singing a nice mix of cover songs and your own original material, which is really good. And it's really good stuff. And you said you're not comfortable doing it, and you know, I was with Riley Gates, and we said, just don't do it. I mean, come out. Your original stuff's good, and you have this kind of deep traditional country voice. You say you can't sing, but you've got a nice pocket for a country voice. You really do. It's a really nice place. And you got to be careful about your cover songs you pick, because you can get out of your register real fast.
For sure, man. I learned that last night trying to do
Neon Moon sat right in your voice.
Neon Moon, I love singing that song. That felt real good. That's one of my favorite ones to sing. But yeah, a lot of them just, I'm pushing to hit them notes. And so
which for a guy not comfortable singing sucks.
Yeah.
It sucks.
Yeah, for sure.
But okay, so you get into songwriting. When's the first time you wrote something by yourself or with other guys? You said, "This crap's pretty good. This is legit."
Man.
I mean, because we all, you know, you piddle around with it, and like you said, the Survivor song. You could have done something different.
Yeah.
You would probably do it differently today than then, because you learn. But when did you finally go, "Wow, this could work"?
Man, honestly, not that long ago. And I'm a pretty hard critique of myself, but I got invited to this Montana songwriter trip a few weeks back by Eric Dillon, and he was kind of like my mentor moving there, and now he's really starting to help me with my artist development and songwriting and all that. So he took me under his wing and has helped me. He's wrote songs with me, and he's starting to really make a name for himself in Nashville. He just had 2 cuts on Luke Combs' record. All sorts of cuts.
That's the record to be on anymore. Yeah.
You know,
you're scoring Luke Combs.
Trisha Yearwood single, Riley Green single on the radio. I mean, he's all over the place. So he invited me to go on this trip, and we sat down and we wrote some good songs. And we wrote this one song, and it's called "There's a Small Town." And it was after that song where I just said, you know, holy smokes, probably a lot more words came out than that. And the reason I kind of felt so good about that one is because I could see it in Eric's eyes, and I could just see him shaking his head saying, "That's a great song." And so, you know, when he said it's a great song, and I was just a small part of it, then I'm feeling like, all right, man, like, we're gonna do this. Like, so that just happened recently, and man, I just felt like that's a great song, and every time I sing it, I get chills. So I know it's doing something to someone else too, hopefully. But
and we talked about this last night. You like wrote 5. How long was this retreat?
It was like 5 nights.
5 nights. So basically, you knocked out a song per day.
Pretty much, yep.
How long does it take to develop a song? I mean, there's a lot that goes.
Yeah, man. Sometimes, sometimes I've sat down by myself and wrote a full song in an hour. And it might not be the best song, but I wrote a full song. And, I'm just, it just falls out. Sometimes it takes you 3 hours to get the first verse, and you're like, man, that's not good. So it's just like, I don't know, it's just different, man. Like, sometimes you just click well. Like me and Eric click real well together.
Is it easier to write with someone? Because
I think
when
so.
you get stuck, they pick it up, and then you pick it up. And
Yeah, I think so, man. You just bounce ideas off. I don't like writing with 4 people in a room. I've done that a lot. 3 is great. 2 is probably even better in my book. I like 2-way rides. I think they're great. I can voice my opinion about it. They can voice their opinion about it. We can just bounce ideas off. I've written some of the best songs 2 and 3-way, you know, but 4 is a little tough, and by yourself's a little tough too. You're not able to see all the angles, but yeah, it's crazy, man. There's a lot of co-writing going on in that town, and that's something I didn't know about. But I thank God for it because I'm writing with some cool people. So
next step, getting a contract to write?
Yeah, man, I'm hoping so.
Because you mentioned you're the only unsigned person at this thing, and
Right.
so it seems like one of those people are just going to say, "Well, go back to the boss, say, why don't you sign this guy?"
Yeah, man, I'm hoping that at some point I can just write songs for a living.
But you do want to perform, though, don't you? I mean,
yeah, I'd like to do the artist thing for a while, and you know, when the time comes to settle down with family and all that, priorities are going to change a little bit, and I can't be on the weekend.
You don't want to do the Thomas
all the
Rhett thing
time.
with the flames and the backup dancers?
Yeah, probably not.
Okay, that didn't seem like you.
But you know, as crazy as it sounds, I would rather sit in a room with 50 people that are really paying attention to what I'm having to say and sing, than to open up for Luke Combs and no one's paying attention to what I'm saying. They're just ready for Luke to be on the stage. That's just kind of how I am. I'd rather play for free beer to people who love me as an artist and want to hear my songs than to play 10,000 and people just could care less type of thing. But that's just me.
But people don't grasp this. Being a songwriter in Nashville, I mean, there's a lot of people, I almost said dudes, but there's a lot of people doing this, making a pretty good living. You get a Dierks Bentley song, gets released.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you just kind of piece it together, and pretty soon you're rolling, and people want to work with you.
You start getting the ball rolling, and all of a sudden you can make a pretty good living being a songwriter.
And not doing the bus life either.
Right. Yeah, and just playing shows when you want to, and just because you love it, not because you have to.
So as we tape this, you have 2 songs that you've released publicly.
Mm-hmm.
Dick, they're both great songs. They really are.
Tell
me about Heartbreak Town. Where's that? You didn't write that, correct?
Yeah, I wrote that.
You did co-write that.
I wrote that with Eric Dillon.
Okay. Oh, that's okay. I never put that together. Man, that's a great song.
Thanks, man. That was the first song we ever wrote together, actually.
So where'd you get this produced? What's the process for a young guy like you? I mean, studio time can be expensive.
Yeah, man. Eric actually produced my songs. So we went into the studio, had a budget. We actually used some really great musicians, you know, half of Sturgill Simpson's band and half of Margot Price's band. And they came in and we knocked out the tracks, and then a few weeks later, and Eric was really good about telling them how we want this song to sound and all that. And went in and cut vocals a couple weeks later and just put them out. So it's kind of a weird process, you know, because like when we wrote Beer Somewhere,
that's your second song.
Yeah, that was with Eric, Dave Turnbull, and Gable Bradley as a 4-way, right? So yeah, good song came out of a 4-way, right? So it happens all sorts of crazy ways, but we wrote that song real slow. Like we wrote on a I can't remember what guitar he's playing, but nylon string, just real slow.
And now it's picked up.
And now, so we got in the studio, and it's just funny how these songs can come to life from on a recording from your phone to the studio. And so we start recording that song. They're like, and the drum player was like, "Man, this is too slow. We got to crank this up." And all of a sudden, we're just like, keep speeding it up. And all of a sudden, it's just a honky-tonkin' son of a gun.
It's really good.
And so it's just funny how like songs can just come to life in the studio, and that was pretty cool to see that song, because we wrote it pretty slow. It was just more like laid back, chill. I'll be drinking a beer somewhere, man. But now it's like, man, get up and do a little two-step.
It is. And you said last night that it's getting a little traction. You know, songs get around.
Yeah.
Kind of people hear them, they end up in hands, and you just don't know where they're at sometimes.
Yeah.
But you've got a little feedback on this one, haven't you?
Yeah, so Eric's signed writer, and Dave Turnbull's a signed writer. That was one of my first, just like, holy crap moments, being in the room writing with Dave Turnbull. One of my favorite songs is Outskirts of Heaven, and Dave wrote that song. And so I'm getting to write songs with guys who have written my favorite songs that I listen to every day, and so that was cool. And then Gable Bradley just got signed. So I got 3 people that I wrote the song with that are signed, and they're pushing that. And it fell in the lap of Jake Owen, and he's got it on hold right now, and we're just kind of waiting to see what happens. And
okay, now define what on hold means.
Basically, just means that they like the song, they're interested in the song.
So no one else can grab it for now.
For now, yeah.
Yeah.
But he could have 100 more, just like that, sitting there with
so
him.
Do they pay for that right? They do, don't they?
What's that now?
To have it on hold, do they pay for that right, or they?
In some cases, I don't know if.
Okay.
If, this is one of them.
Throw you a buck, man.
Yeah, I know. At least throw me like $100 bill or something.
Exactly. You're Jake Owen, for God's sakes.
Yeah. So we're just waiting to see, and like I'm staying pretty level-headed about it, and I'm not getting my hopes up whatsoever. But I feel like I can talk about it. Like, it doesn't bother me if I talk about it and feel like I'm trying to jinx something. Like, I feel like I'm jinxing something. It's going to happen how it's going to happen. And
right.
I feel like I can have a few extra beers, after finding that out,
Sure.
Small
it's a
victory.
Step. It's a step.
So
you got to take your steps.
if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. I'm not going to look back and say, man, I shouldn't have told people I had a song on hold,
I'm not a believer in that. I'm a believer if things are going to happen, they're going to happen.
For sure.
That's really cool. You got a couple more songs that are going to be coming out? You're going to release them?
Yeah, man. We haven't set a date yet, but I know it's going to be soon. There's 2 more coming out. Old Habits and Small Town Prayers. And then we're going to start diving into this new stuff that I'm really into, and I'm really believing in these songs that we've been writing lately, and just super excited. More excited than I've ever been. Any
plans to do an EP or anything? I mean, you kind of do one song things.
When we have these next 2 coming out, we're going to have it's going to be a 4-song EP. It'll
With
have
the first 2?
Heartbreak Beer, and then the new 2. So it'll be a 4-song EP.
Cool.
After that, after the first of the year, we're going to get back in the studio. And, we might do some like stripped down stuff, and just kind of get back to the roots of things, and just put some stuff out like that and see what people think of that. And I don't know, we got some ideas. We're not really sure yet, but got some songs coming up that just really loving.
Well, you got a real traditional sound without being, you're not a throwback, but you're not pop country.
Right,
Don't start me on that. It's good. You got a good pocket you're working. Fits your voice.
Thank you.
I think it's good stuff, and I heard some of that other original stuff that you have been working on. It, man. You're right. It's good.
Yeah,
it's really good.
I believe in it, and that's the most important thing. When you're singing a song, you got to believe in it.
So when I was getting ready this morning, don't get too many visuals there, but I asked my Alexa to play Nick Walsh, which is pretty damn cool, man.
Did she play it?
Yeah, heck yes, but there's another Nick Walsh out there. So if you ask Alexa to play Nick Walsh, you can get some hard rock going.
Dude, actually, I saw that. I
saw that. No.
Yeah.
Well, at least your brother didn't get into music, and he asked to play Joe Walsh and to get someone.
Yeah, he would have had a different name. He would have had to do a different name.
I had a buddy that actually did the same thing 20 years ago, and his first name is Garth. It's actually Garth.
Really?
So he had to be Garrett in Nashville, which didn't fit him at all.
Man.
So we started this tradition on our podcast. It's called The Overtime. Now it's its own podcast where people just ask us anything. So we've extended into here. So one of our users, ContraCat, has 5 quick questions for the overtime, and we wrap this thing up. He said, come on, man, how rough was camp and conditioning for kickers, snappers, and punters? As opposed to the rest
who's
of the
asking these questions?
This guy named ContraCat.
Okay.
Yeah.
How rough was camp for us?
For the specialists as opposed to the rest of the team.
Man, I'm not going to lie. It was it was exhausting on our hips and our legs, because we're kicking, punting a lot. We're running a lot. We're running with the team a lot, but it wasn't as mentally exhausting as every other position, because while they're in meetings, you know, we're downstairs in the players' lounge with a dip in our mouth watching South Park. So we're still up at the complex, but it was not near as mentally exhausting for us. We had a little bit more free time, but yeah, we ran with the team and we did all that. But man, it wasn't anything too rough.
What's your favorite live music spot in Nashville?
I'm gonna say Robert's Western World. It's on Broadway.
Interesting.
But,
I've never walked in that one.
They got $2.50 Busch Lights there, which is pretty cheap for Nashville.
That's really cheap for Nashville.
And they play Merle Haggard, Hank Williams, and all sorts of old country. And so, and if I go out now, I'm usually going to Robert's Western World.
I will go there.
Yeah, man.
I always went to the stage, and now it's just turned into a giant monolith of 5 tiers. It's incredible. Is there one song or songwriter that kind of pointed your direction?
Eric Dillon.
Really?
I was listening to his stuff before I even knew him, honestly, and I love the songs that he writes, and so it's really. Is he
one of those guys that you can hear a song and go, oh, that's his song? You just kind of pick it up?
For sure.
My guy's Radney Foster, older school guy.
Okay, yeah, for sure.
And when you hear a Radney song, you go, that's Radney Foster. And you go back and look.
Closing Time.
Yep.
Yeah, man. So yeah, if we're getting outside of Eric, you know, Guy Clark, Steve Earle, John Prine.
Yep.
Man, I'm a fan of all those guys. And I'm a fan of those guys because Eric was a fan of those guys, and he kind of modeled his after that. And so I feel like me and Eric have a lot in common as far as what we want to write. And so that's why we connect so well. But then, yeah, we're influenced heavily by Guy Clark and Steve Earle, and Eric has, you know, he's written songs with Guy and he's written songs with Steve, and
that's awesome.
Those are his heroes, and so
Steve Earle's a real deal.
Yeah, man. So some great songwriting going on there. I'm just trying to take notes and learn from all those guys.
Just hang around, see what rubs off on you. Okay, I skipped a topic earlier because he asked one of his overtime question. You're an outdoorsman.
For sure.
I mean, what was it, 19-point buck you got?
Yeah, 19 scorable points.
That's amazing.
210 inches. So
give me your ideal outdoor day. What would you do?
Man, I would. That's a tough one. I'll give you 2 real quick ones though. First one would be sitting in a duck blind in the morning, getting up early. You know, I think back to.
You just lost me right there. Getting up early.
Yeah. So, you know, between some back home friends and, you know, Ertz and Valentine, some of them guys, you know, we'd get up, we'd play a game Saturday, we'd go out to the bars till 2, come home, sleep for an hour, leave 3 in the morning, go to the gas station that was open there on whatever the hell the road is, Turtle Creek Boulevard, grab us a coffee, some donuts. I'd drive us out to the marsh while Ertz and Valentine are back there throwing up outside of the window.
Beautiful. Beautiful. College life. Heck yeah.
And we get to the duck blind. We'd just all be all huddled there because it's public ground. We had to get there early so no one else could take our spot. And we'd huddle around a heater and just sit there and, you know, tell stories and, man, just wait for the sun to come up and then kill some ducks, kill some geese. There's that side of things. Being out there with friends is my favorite thing. But then on the other side of that, there's a lot of times where I just want to be by myself. And so sitting in the deer stand, waking up, just watching Earth come to life, and you know, just being out there by myself. There's just something about just being somewhere that's just been untouched and hunting these, you know, massive animals, you know, white-tailed deer, and so that's pretty cool too. So there's
bow or gun?
Bow usually,
You're a bow,
unless there's something wrong with my bow, you know.
So how far away was the big guy you got?
So that, and for instance, there I broke my bow a week before, so I shot him with the rifle at 220 yards.
Okay.
Yeah, 270.
Yeah, so there was a reference to bow hunting in 220 yards. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah, what is he, Robin Hood? Yeah, it didn't make sense to me, but I'm glad I asked. His final one is a good one to wind up with. Is there one lesson from football that you now are applying to your current life that is really helping you through this journey you're on?
Man. So there wasn't a lot of D1 athletes that came out of Linden. I felt like I wanted to do something above and beyond that no one's ever done, and I've just kind of always had that in my blood. I want to do what people think I can do. So, there's a lot of people that believed in me that I could do it, but there's a lot more that believe that I couldn't do it. And so just getting to K-State and being able to start for 4 years, and there's a lot of people that didn't think that was possible from how I looked in high school as a punter, and we talked about all that already. But I just didn't feel like that's all that like God had in store for me as far as chasing dreams and making an impact. And I could have taken my finance degree and found somewhere here at home and had great times on the weekends and had a lot of money in the bank, but I want to make more of an impact than I do an income. And so decided to move to Nashville and chase that dream too. And a lot of people like to say, well, at least you got a good backup plan, you got a finance degree, and in my mind, I don't have a backup plan.
No, this is your plan.
If I got to eat out of trash cans for the rest of my life, if I get to that point where I have to eat out of trash cans to still write songs, I'm going to do it. And I'm just going to keep chasing that dream, and I feel like that's why I got to K-State and why I fell in love with songwriting and why I ended up in Nashville. I just feel like I was born to just chase dreams. So
if you got to think about a backup plan, you don't believe in your first plan.
Yeah, exactly, man. There's no backup plan.
You just got to go.
I'm gonna do it.
Well, I'm proud of you, man, because you're living life on your own terms.
Yep.
And that's the biggest gift someone can have, is not just doing stuff to pay the bills. You're doing stuff to make yourself who you want to be.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
I appreciate you having me on, man.
You
It
bet.
means a lot.
You bet. Well, that's it for the Power Chat today. That's Nick Walsh. Man, catch his stuff on YouTube. He's got more stuff coming out. You should be able to spell that name. I'm Fitz, and we'll be back here in the Gig Powered Studios with another guest real soon.